Hey there, pirates! Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. Katakuri is going to join the Straw Hat Pirates, and this is almost confirmed in the One Piece manga. Today, I will reveal how this will happen and how the Straw Hats will react to it. I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit, so just comment which fruit you want. Guys, the possibility of a reunion between Luffy and Katakuri after Whole Cake Island is something that could happen, especially because of the new common threat that has emerged, Blackbeard. Since chapter 1064, when it was revealed that Blackbeard's crew captured Pudding, it's clear that the situation is changing for the Big Mom pirates, and Katakuri may end up being forced to make a difficult decision. After all, even though he lost to Luffy in chapter 892, that doesn't mean his story is over. On the contrary, the very respect he developed for Luffy might be what leads him to seek him out again, but now in a completely different position. If we think about the last time we saw Katakuri in chapter 1059, he was defending Whole Cake Island alongside Oven against Germa 66. This shows that he remained on the island, taking on a leadership role after Big Mom left for Wano. But now that Blackbeard has kidnapped Pudding, the question arises, will Katakuri simply ignore what happened, or will he take action? I don't think he would stay idle, especially because Pudding isn't just an ally, she's his sister, and more than that, she possesses the ability to read the poneglyphs, making her a key piece in the race for the One Piece. The question is, how could Katakuri meet Luffy? There are a few possibilities. The first is that he could leave Whole Cake Island to rescue Pudding and, along the way, end up encountering the Straw Hat crew. Another possibility is that Luffy is the first to discover what happened and decides to go after Blackbeard, meeting Katakuri in the process. Either way, a meeting between the two wouldn't feel forced, as both have reasons to face the same enemy. If this meeting happens, could Luffy ask Katakuri to join them? I think so, especially because Luffy isn't someone who holds grudges against former enemies. On the contrary, he has always respected those who fought against him seriously, and Katakuri was one of the opponents who best represented that. In chapter 897, when Luffy finally leaves Whole Cake Island, he holds no hostility toward Katakuri, and even after losing, Katakuri shows respect by asking if Luffy would return to take down Big Mom. This means that the foundation for an alliance was already established at that moment, even if neither of them explicitly said so. Another point that reinforces this possibility is that Katakuri is not a villain in the traditional sense. Unlike other Yonko commanders, he never took pleasure in causing unnecessary suffering. On the contrary, he always put his family above everything else and demonstrated his own sense of justice. Now that Big Mom is no longer in the picture, what's left for him? Following an independent path wouldn't be impossible. But if he finds out that Pudding is in Blackbeard's hands, he might see Luffy as the best chance to rescue her. The big question is, would Katakuri accept joining Luffy? I think that at first he would refuse, because of his strong sense of responsibility toward his family. But if the situation becomes more chaotic, and he realizes that staying alone is not an option, he might see it as the best choice. Besides, if Luffy directly invites him, it's hard to imagine Katakuri simply ignoring it, knowing that Luffy is not someone who acts with hidden motives. If Pudding remains in Blackbeard's hands for too long, the chances of a meeting between Luffy and Katakuri increase even more. And if this happens, we might see one of Luffy's most respectable rivals becoming an ally in one of the most important battles in the entire story. And let's be honest, if Katakuri really joins the Straw Hat crew, it would be a major milestone in the history of One Piece, as it could redefine the relationship between the Straw Hat Pirates and their former enemies, while also triggering various reactions among the crew members. To understand how this encounter and possible alliance could happen, we need to delve into the personalities of Zoro, Sanji, and Nami, and how they would react to seeing Katakuri, a former powerful enemy, now possibly playing the role of an ally. Luffy and Katakuri have already established mutual respect during their battle in Whole Cake Island. Katakuri, despite being one of the main commanders of the Big Mom pirates, was never a classic villain. He acted with a code of honor, prioritizing his family above all, but never showing unnecessary cruelty. That's why when Luffy challenged him and exceeded his expectations, Katakuri had a shift in his perception of the Straw Hat captain. He recognized Luffy's strength not just in combat, but also as someone who shares a grand dream and an unbreakable will. This mutual respect is the foundation that could allow an alliance between them to happen. Now, with Pudding's capture by Blackbeard, Katakuri might find himself with no choice but to seek Luffy's help. Their storyline could intensify with the promise of rescuing Pudding, making the possibility of Katakuri joining the Straw Hat crew even more plausible. However, this shift from enemy to ally wouldn't be easy, and certainly wouldn't be unanimously accepted among the Straw Hats. Zoro, the crew's swordsman, is someone who always values strength and loyalty. His attitude toward Katakuri would likely be one of the most cautious given their history. Zoro deeply respects strength, but he is also extremely pragmatic. During the battle against Katakuri, Zoro didn't have a prominent role, but he would undoubtedly recognize the impressive ability of the Big Mom Pirates commander. However, Zoro's loyalty to Luffy is absolute, and he would likely take a protective stance over his captain. If Katakuri were to approach Luffy with the intention of allying with him, Zoro would likely be extremely suspicious. He is not the type to easily accept help from a former enemy, especially someone as strong and with a past like Katakuri's. Zoro is also not known for being overly diplomatic or patient. His initial reaction could be hostile, especially since he values fair battles, and if he felt that Katakuri could be a threat to the crew's balance, he would not hesitate to confront him. Sanji, the crew's cook, has a complex relationship with anyone tied to family issues due to his own past with his brothers and his father, Judge Vince Moke. Katakuri, being a member of a dysfunctional family and having a relationship with Big Mom marked by pressure and duty, would certainly evoke a mixed reaction in Sanji. At first, Sanji would see Katakuri as a threat to the family that Luffy has built with his friends. He would also be very cautious about accepting someone from Big Mom's family into the crew, given the trauma he himself suffered due to his relationship with the Vinsmokes. The idea of welcoming someone from such a powerful and potentially dangerous family would make Sanji feel uncomfortable, especially if he saw in Katakuri a resemblance to his own father or even to the brothers he so strongly rejects. However, the key here would be Katakuri's attitude after becoming Luffy's ally. If he showed sincerity in his actions, especially by helping in critical moments or proving that he had no intention of manipulating the situation for his own benefit, Sanji might change his mind. Remember that Sanji values actions and true emotions, and if he noticed that Katakuri genuinely cared about Pudding and the future of his family, he could eventually empathize with him. In the end, Sanji would probably accept Katakuri into the crew, but with much more caution than Zoro or Luffy, and only after witnessing concrete actions, proving that he was not a threat. Nami, the crew's navigator, is a character who always tries to avoid trouble, especially when it involves the dangers of powerful or unpredictable enemies. She has a unique ability to sense when a situation could become risky, making her extremely pragmatic. When it comes to Katakuri, she would probably be the first to express skepticism about this alliance. The Straw Hat crew has already faced many powerful enemies throughout their journey, and Nami has a clear understanding of how personal interests can affect the crew's well-being. At first, Nami would likely be suspicious of any idea of Katakuri joining them, especially considering Pudding's importance in the narrative. If Katakuri approached Luffy with the goal of rescuing his sister and joining the crew, Nami would be on high alert, questioning his true intentions and weighing whether the presence of a Yonko's pirate would be more of a risk than a benefit. However, Nami also has a generous heart and can be more flexible than she appears at first glance. She would value sincerity in Katakuri's actions, and if he proved to be a person of character by helping the crew in decisive ways, she might change her stance. She understands that alliances can be complex, but also recognizes that when survival is at stake, new allies can be crucial for victory. The biggest obstacle for Nami would be the threat that Katakuri might pose to the crew's safety, but her ability to sense when someone truly cares about the greater good could eventually lead to acceptance, especially if Katakuri demonstrated genuine commitment. And you? How do you think this would play out? That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.